but the move into mid-table is justifying the means. It's a red-letter day at the Riverside because the champions are here and they're still setting the standards at the end.
Matchup with Gordon McQueen and Martin Tyler.
Absolutely right, Richard. The players not wanting to hang about on a chilly afternoon. Manchester United taking on a Middlesbrough team unbeaten in their last 11 games. Haven't conceded a goal at home since mid-October. And Mark Schwarzer has had an exceptional run. Frank Kudry, the left-back, incidentally, only just past fit. He's been feeling pretty under the weather, and they have brought Stuart Parnaby as a late alteration on the bench. A defender who could step in if necessary. The right back is back, Danny Mills. So let Mendieta take over. George Boateng. And just keep an eye on Mikhail Silvestre. Damaged a knee against Everton on Boxing Day. But nothing like as serious as the knee injury suffered by Ugo Ekiog back in May. He's incidentally being watched in these early minutes of his comeback by the player cam. If you're a Sky Digital viewer, you can tune into that. Juninho, who got 2 goals, of course, at Blackburn, which doubled his tally for the season and makes him Middlesbrough's leading scorer with 4. And it's good to see Wes Brown back as a member of a Manchester United 16. Couldn't get into the 11, although he was on standby for it. So his knee injury on the last day of last season. He's had a dreadful run, the poor lad. Prior to that, a broken ankle. So we wish him an injury-free sequence now. And here's Darren Fletcher, actually. Matt Macias, the referee, could have let Manchester United go then. Roy Keane might just be suggesting that was the case.
I think they need to be careful in these situations, Middlesbrough, because obviously they conceded goals from set pieces on Saturday, which I'm sure Steve McLaren and Gareth Southgate in particular were overjoyed about. Babel, two headers from corner kicks, although not free kicks, but they'll need to be alert here.
That's Ryan Giggs. Manchester United also conceded 2 goals on Boxing Day to headers, but in different circumstances, one of them from their own player, of course, Gary Neville. Rio Ferdinand, including today, has 4 games left. Unless, of course, there is any change on that original FA verdict that he's suspended for 8 months from January the 12th. Gary Neville, such a fine crosser of the ball from the right, but it just got sucked in the 3 Manchester United attackers all towards the near post. Newell's still on loan here from Leeds, which is a significant point because you're only allowed to have 2 players on loan in the Premiership. The other is Zenden from other Premiership clubs, and if Mills was signed on a more permanent deal, it might just free up something for Steve McCarron to manoeuvre with in the transfer window.
He's became a big favourite as well, Martin Danny Mills here. The crowd love his drive, his commitment, gets us forward as often as possible. Now, I'm not so sure how often they'll be able to get forward today. He's obviously got Giggs to look after as well.
Very much reverted to the Tottenham blueprint, Sir Alec Ferguson. So apart from the injury to John O'Shea, he did get that opening goal at White Hart Lane, and even he had an outside chance of being fit for this one. I don't think he'll be missing long from Manchester United's plans in the new year. Van Nistelrooy is just a hat-trick away from 100 goals for Manchester United in no sort of time at all, really. And a hat-trick for him isn't usually much time in coming. Fletcher. And Van Nistelrooy. Breaks to Keane. Fletcher. He's cut it back quite shrewdly to the edge of the area, but Giggs and Van Nistelrooy both gone in on a more forward cross. Boateng closed down quickly by Messrs Keane and Scholes. And here's Ryan Giggs, who scored the Manchester United goal in that 3-1 defeat here last December. Scholes stopped in the nick of time by a former clubmate, Jonathan Greening. Boateng. Now Michael Ricketts, who's taken his time to settle in as a Middlesbrough player. One or two more encouraging thrusts in his play recently. He's still not scored a goal for Middlesbrough here at the Riverside, and 3 in his Middlesbrough career, all on their travels.
Yeah, I think as we mentioned earlier, Martin, goals have been a problem in the Premier League at the Riverside in particular this year. I think they've got 6 goals and 2 wins. It's just not really good enough if we're thinking about getting into the European positions.
Southgate has to play safe. As Manchester United know only too well that Middlesbrough had a wonderful home record last season where they lost only 2 league games on this ground. As you say, Gordon, they've just had the 2 wins so far this season, and against teams that have struggled, Everton and Wolves. And the run of Van Nistelrooy produces a Manchester United corner. He'd be so hungry, Ruud Van Nistelrooy, because he hates missing games. He was parked on the bench, not required for the Everton match. Bursting to be into the action again. He's got maybe an opportunity coming his way from a Ryan Giggs corner here. He's right in on the line. Keane by the near post. Now come out here to Paul Scholes. Quinton Fortune. Mendieta. Fortune, who's just reached 50 Premiership games for Manchester United. It's taken him 4.5 years to get to that mark. Green, he was similarly consigned to being a squad player for his time at Old Trafford. Phil Neville, who's come through that part in his career, to be very much a regular. He dispossessed Juninho. Ferdinand, I must say, has coped with his difficulties off the field with plenty of poise on the field. Van Nistelrooy. Boateng really in there to try and break up the play. Wants to do it again. Fortune, Giggs, lovely football from Manchester United. Scholes. Van Nistelrooy trying to make the angle. Pass has just forced him a bit too wide. And it's taken away by Kedru. Mendieta. Big name signing. Mendieta, of course, has faced Manchester United before in the Champions League with Valencia. Juninho for Mendieta. Probably playing for the free kick and not getting it. He was trying to take Silvestre on Silvestre's stronger side. Here's Giggs. Fletcher. A very combative player, Frank Kedru. Meant that he was missing at the start of the season with a carry-over suspension in that time when Middlesbrough couldn't get anything going at all, and maybe that was partially a factor. Boateng. Juninho. Zenden. Picked up by Southgate. Just get the feeling that Gareth Southgate, for all sorts of reasons, Gordon would like to play very well today.
Yeah, well, obviously his name's been linked with Manchester United and 1 or 2 other clubs. And it's no surprise because he's a top quality defender. He's played it's over 100 games now for Middlesbrough, I believe, and I've watched a lot of those games and I've never seen him having a bad one.
And the flag has gone up against Ricketts. Turner holding it. Sylvestre. Mendieta. Firmino made a run from the centre to the right-hand side. Greening coming in from the left. Trying to find some space to fill. Fletcher, who's consigned again to a midfield role on the right-hand side. He'd just be pleased to be in the team, of course, but he'd love to get his chance later on in his career to play in the central role that he really feels will be his best position, and the manager feels that as well. Nice to see a Scot in the Manchester United side.
Well, yes, and a very talented one as well, Martin.
Mills. Remember, 3 consecutive goalless draws on this ground, and Manchester United don't get involved in many goalless draws, not in many draws full stop. They have had only 1 drawn Premiership game this season. That was at home. That was 0-0 in that eventful affair with Arsenal. Zenden. Interesting to see how he does as a central midfield player today. Giggs, who can play in the middle and has done for Manchester United, but is working the wide territory for him. He feels he was fouled by Danny Mills. Matt Messias, the referee, thought otherwise.
I think the referee gets this right, Martin. I think Mendieta has a little chip at him there, sticks it through Danny Mills' legs and just topples over.
Constantly done by Sylvestre. Tim Howard keeping his ever-present run in the Premiership in his first season with Manchester United. Fletcher. Keane. There was a little doubt about his participation today. He didn't finish the match at Tottenham last Sunday. Was it really only last Sunday? So much seems to have happened in the week since Manchester United picked up 3 more points on their travels. They've actually won 4 in a row, Manchester United, since losing at Chelsea in the league. Typical response. It's always a great mantra from Sir Alex Ferguson. Make sure you don't lose 2 in a row. In fact, when they did lose here at Middlesbrough last season, it was 2 in a row because they'd been beaten at Blackburn in their game just before the Christmas. And they came back so strongly in 2003, the dominant force again domestically. Keane. Scholes. Ryan Giggs. Not quite run for Van Nistelrooy. Giggs initially shaping for a shot, trying to just give the defenders the eyes as he played the pass in the end. Keane. Scholes. Clever footwork in a tight area. Fortune. Goes for goal himself, and the deflection takes it in. And it's a tough break for Middlesbrough. But Manchester United celebrate with an early goal.
Well, nice build-up play by Manchester United. Ball out to Fortune in a wide left area. Just comes inside here, Mendieta. Maybe should have did a little bit better defensively. Got a little break there with a right-footed shot off Danny Mills' hip. But they've certainly the lion's share of possession so far in this game. But maybe a lot of people not too worried when Quinton Fortune's shaping up to hit it with his right foot. But a wicked deflection beats Mark Schwarzer.
And with Middlesbrough's paucity of goals, That's quite a tough blow. Going into kick-off time here with Wolves scoring in the first half of their match today. Middlesbrough and Wolves are equal as the lowest scorers in the Premiership. And the record books tell you that when Manchester United score first, it doesn't turn around very often. But there's Mills doing better that time. Scholes. Headed out by Southgate. Keane. It was there to hit. It was a little bit off the ground, which meant that the technique had to be spot on. Player cam switching to Sky Digital viewers to Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was in there hunting as fortune shot, but the deflection off Danny Mills did the trick in the end for Manchester United. I have to tell you, it's no consolation to Middlesbrough fans, but Quinton Fortune's only ever scored 2 away goals in the Premiership, and both of them been here at the Riverside.
And the football's been good, Martin. I mean, I watched that Spurs game last week, and for the first hour, some of the football they played was breathtaking. And they haven't been too shabby here today. First 16 minutes in this game
produced a gasp of breath for Middlesbrough fans. A little flick by Michael Ricketts that on another day might have picked up a teammate. But Fortune is the name, really, and fortunate was the nature of the goal. Well, it is Stuart Parnaby. Talked about players on the comeback trail today. We haven't mentioned him. He's not been in Middlesbrough's senior side since August. He too has had that damage to a cruciate ligament in a knee. As in Ekyog's case, there's been no need for surgery. It's been rest and rehabilitation. Steve McLaren making a point about Ugo Ekyog, how hard they've been so impressed with the determination that the player has shown. When you're out for a long time, it can be a difficult despairing sequence in a player's career, but Ekyog's kept his head up. He's done all the work the physios have asked of him, and he's got his reward. He hasn't had surgery. Fletcher, Van Nistelrooy, cleared by Mills, collected by Keane. Manchester United very much in the mood at Middlesbrough today. Another difficult moment for the home team. Frank Kedru will confirm for you whether it is the illness that he was suffering from or whether he's actually picked up an injury in the opening 15 minutes or so. And they had Stuart Parnaby ready for this situation.
Stuart's a fine young player. He can play in various positions across the back four, but that's a blow for Middlesbrough. I mean, Manchester United are well on top in terms of possession, and now you've got 2 players in the back four that haven't played this season.
Just to be fair to Parnaby, he did have 4 games at the start. Hasn't played since August. It's a long time out. And here comes Giggs. Mendieta gets away from Fortune. Zender. Haven't got Juninho into the game as yet. All Ricketts can do is reach it. He's had some joy against Manchester United in his Bolton days, getting a winner for Bolton at Old Trafford in the Premiership. Silvestre. Boateng. Here's Juninho. I can confirm to you that it is the illness that we talked about, but necessitated the early departure for Frank Kedru. Matt Mathias, the referee, you might recall, has been responsible for one of the memorable moments of 2003 when he unwittingly knocked out the Birmingham hard man, Robbie Savage. And then Alan Shearer brandished the referee's own red card at the official for that accident in a moment of great humour. I don't suppose Robbie Savage just saw the funny side at the time. Knowing Robbie, he's seen the funny side of it since. Savage, of course, started as a Manchester United player. He almost came for Scholes in an area where a shot would have threatened Boateng. Here's Mills. Ooh, he's had a little swipe out with an arm there at Ryan Giggs. He is a turbulent character, Danny Mills.
I can't imagine there's a great deal in this. He just swings his... Oh, well, I don't know. The referee obviously very close, pulling Danny Mills up. I'm interested to see what he gets here.
Yes, I'd like to see what colour the card's going to be. It's all going wrong for Middlesbrough in this early 20 minutes.
I mean, he never made any contact, Martin, but certainly the intent was there. It looks like a yellow card he's got in his hand.
Players have really got to be careful when they raise arms like that. Mills would probably say, well, I'm just trying to free myself from maybe some illegal attentions that he felt were coming from Giggs. But it's a dangerous thing to do as far as a referee is concerned. It's also a dangerous thing to do as far as an opponent is concerned if you catch a player in the face like that. Boateng. Boateng looking behind him a bit angrily, then saying it was the peaceful Paul Scholes. Middlesbrough make absolutely nothing of the free kick. Fletcher. Here's Mills. Mendieta, but they just can't get any play together, Middlesbrough, in the middle third, or indeed more importantly the attacking third, halfway through first half that so far is being dominated by Manchester United. They have a goal to show for that as well. Greeny. Solidly met by Silvestre, but here's Juninho. Can end the danger.
His first decent cross. Middlesbrough have got into the box. Jonathan Green in there. They've been Manchester United well on top.
Giggs going infield and going into trouble that time. Easily picked up though by Philip Neville. Keane. To Manchester United.
Hugo's obviously very displeased with this decision. Boateng and Hugo, two of them. Free kick 30 yards out. Maybe a bit far to have a pocket goal, but we'll see.
Giggs eyeing up the range. Referee taking the Middlesbrough defensive wall back the required distance. Well, Scholes having a good look at it as well. It's Giggs. It's veered away from his intended target. Juninho. Again, that's been the story of his game so far. Greening coming back to get a foot in for Middlesbrough. Parnaby. Zender. Progressive the passing from the home side in this attack. Mills. Three, maybe four Manchester United players are reading Danny Mills' mind, and none of his own teammates. Phil Neville. Keane. And Nistelrooy just holding his run. Had the ball been played up to the Dutch striker quickly, might just have been offside. Strange statistic, Gordon. Manchester United have been caught offside more than any other team in the Premiership, but I think some of that is down to the way Van Nistelrooy plays.
Yeah, he plays off the shoulders of defenders, Martin, and obviously they attack a lot more than most other teams do.
Yes, it does help. Gary Neville. Scholes. Fletcher staying predominantly on the right-hand side. Giggs with plenty of licence to roam from the left. He's in the central striking position at the moment. But not found.
They're difficult to pick. They're difficult to pin down, Martin. They're attacking players. You know, Van Nistelrooy plays through the middle. Scholes floating in behind him. Giggs coming off the wide areas to play in alongside Van Nistelrooy. Their movement's fantastic.
Scholes. Fortune. Angled off first time by Scholes to Quinton Fortune, is being able to run off Mendieta from time to time, and he's now got to think about getting back. Boateng delaying, so it is Fortune who makes the challenge. He didn't need to make quite such a robust one, because he's given away a free kick which Juninho's taken quickly. Zenden on for Greening. Parnaby on the move to support him. Greening's cross. Keane scuffs it and then brings down Mendieta. Manchester United don't feel that is the case, but Matt Messias does. Better clearance first time, and they wouldn't have had the problem.
Well, this is a dangerous position. I mean, Keane completely miskicks it here, tries to retrieve it. Mendieta gets down a little bit easy, but this is a really dangerous situation for Middlesbrough. See if they can take advantage of this.
Well, he's really been a spectator, Tim Howard. And now the left footer, Zenden Kedru, would have been involved, but he's off. Mendieta there as well, and Danny Mills. Middlesbrough waiting for the referee's signal. Zenden wasn't far away, and it was certainly the home team's best effort so far.
Yeah, strikes it quite well, but not on target. And I think Manchester United were felt really hard done by if Middlesbrough would get anything out of that at all, because the free kick against Roy Keane was, I've got to say, was a little bit harsh.
There's a little bit of a problem for Tim Howard. Possibly in trying to cover where he thought the free kick might gone to. I saw on Boxing Day Carlo Cudicini pick up an injury. He stayed on but hasn't played today. He's just cracked into the post, or maybe overstretched. Loyal number 2 Roy Carroll is on the bench. Scholes. And the header by Zenden wasn't really helpful to Middlesbrough. Fortune. I think he's asking too much of his right foot with a crossfield pass like that, maybe encouraged by the deflected goal that he struck with that foot. Middlesbrough saw it coming. Greening. Janino, Ricketts. And Fletcher working hard for Manchester United. Oh, and Janino was on for a poor roll to the edge of the area. Perhaps Greening can get in across. And the natural left foot of Kudru. Scholes been penalised for pushing then on Zenden. Southgate. Half an hour gone. Manchester United good value for their lead, but Middlesbrough trying to rouse themselves from a tentative start. Giggs. Always gets a foot in. Mendieta. Zenden. Not much width for Middlesbrough in this build-up. Boateng has gone to the right. Into the space vacated by Mendieta. Janino, of course, played in the last World Cup final, but only as a substitute. He actually lost his place in Brazil's starting 11 for the quarter-final to this fella, Kleberson. He's amongst the Manchester United substitutes today. Now switching to Gaiska Mendieta. For Sky Digital viewers. Alex Ferguson might just be a little bit more concerned about the last 5 minutes or so. His team have played with plenty of promise that one might be the only goal of their game here today. Manager, incidentally, will be 62 on New Year's Eve. And with no New Year's Day football, we'll be able to give a full celebration to birthday and Hogmanay. Just taking their foot off the gas a little bit, Manchester United, or maybe that's being unfair to Middlesbrough. Will force Manchester United back a bit. It's United's free kick. Bit risky coming here in black and white kit, Gordon, do you think? Not quite the definitive Newcastle United deployment of those colours, though. Mendieta. It's Greening making a run through the middle. No sign of Silvestre feeling that injury problem that forced him off early against Everton and had us all wondering who would play alongside Rio Ferdinand today. Mendieta. Being penalised again. He incidentally was the last Manchester United player to be sent off, and that was September of last year. Janino slipped as he played it. And there's Keane not losing his concentration. Giggs. Scholes. Giggs was impeded off the ball, but referee wanting to play the advantages. Ryan Giggs, I think, might have a word with Zenden.
Ryan Giggs not at all happy with the tackle on him there, as Roy Keane was much the same with the tackle on Mendieta, which looked to me pretty fair, but not to the referee. He's the man that counts.
Fortune's thrown it straight to Janino. They were club mates for a short while at Atletico Madrid, but I don't think that can explain the error. It's Middlesbrough's turn to look aggrieved at an official. Still 10 minutes or so to go in the first half. Quinton Fortune's shot that took a deviation off Danny Mills. One goal here at the Riverside. There's been a slip there for Paul Scholes, and there's concern from players on both sides. I must say, I only just saw him end up on the deck as the ball was played forward.
Yeah, there's a little clash there with Southgate, but it was completely accidental, and Paul Scholes just getting off for a lot of bad treatment there. Quite sure he'll be back on.
Rob Swire is the Manchester United physio. Steve McLaren has had Middlesbrough winning against Manchester United home and away in the Premiership and knocking them out of the FA Cup here. And his team have been second best so far in today's encounter with his former club. Fortune was actually caught by Ricketts, and he's maybe in need of some attention as well. It's been a scrappy few minutes, but maybe it'll suit Middlesbrough, Gordon, to
they're just
make
trying
the game a little less flowing.
They're just trying to claw their way back into this game, because there's an attacking force that have been really non-existent in this half. But at the same time, a lot of Manchester United have plenty of the ball, lots of good possession. They haven't really troubled Mark Schwarzer that much.
Janino. And it was Fletcher coming back to dispossess him. Numbers in the box now, Middlesbrough. Ekiogu was coming back out. Played by Ferdinand. We still await to hear whether Rio Ferdinand is going to appeal against his suspension. I know some players from Holland who are very good at those tricks, but George Boateng's talent in the game lie in other directions.
That wasn't exactly the Cruyff turn, Martin, was it?
No. I don't think we'll be patenting the Boateng back heel. Here's Greening. Now Zender. Janino, seen more of the ball in the last 15 minutes or so. It was a terrific opening 20 minutes for Manchester United, in which they did take the lead. There's a bit more being asked of them now. Fortune, obviously none the worse for that collision with Ricketts. The right foot again, letting him down. Zenden. It's a bit of impeding by Philip Neville. He's hurt himself in the process.
Yeah, all start their lack of concentration with Quinton Fortune. They're very, very loose with that ball. Ends up Philip Neville having to foul, give a free kick away.
Now the physios do worry about players playing 2 games in 3 days, but it doesn't apply to Philip Neville, who wasn't involved. So Alex Ferguson maybe just took a bit of a risk with his selection at home to Everton. 3-2, it got quite nervy right at the end, but they got the points. And after all, they have got a star-studded squad, and players like Nicky Butt benefiting from getting a game from the start. He's back on the bench today. Mendieta. And the only problem really for Howard was that it came to him on the bounce. But if his hands are cold beneath those gloves, you wouldn't be surprised on a chilly December day in the northeast. Grab on Van Nistelrooy by Mills.
Yeah, I think that's the first shot Middlesbrough have had in target in what, 40 minutes going. They've really not really get the ball up to Ricketts at all.
Nice round for Juninho. Silvestre giving some depth to Manchester United's defending.
And Juninho, Mendieta, Zenda, and the Flair players haven't really got into this game yet.
Van Nistelrooy, he can't hold it up, and it is a touch by Zenden to Greening. Mendieta. Now Mills. Called even by the referee. Mendieta. It's just too far ahead of Juninho. Chelsea have won earlier today. Manchester United winning here. Southampton play Arsenal. That's Monday night, Sky Sports 1 from 7. His third spell here, Gordon, hasn't really been his most successful. Would that be fair, Juninho?
Yeah, I think there's no question. The first time round was when they produced the magic here at the Riverside and a few other grounds in the country as well, and eventually get sold for a lot of money to Athletic Madrid. I think second time back on this time, he hasn't been the player that he was years ago.
Middlesbrough pegged back because there's to be a booking for Darren Fletcher. Well, with Echiog's return, he's more than useful in the air. I'll reach him. Rescued by Boateng. Zenden. Here's Parnaby. Richard will update you at half-time all the second half action from the 3 o'clock kickoffs, all the news from those games. Here's Boateng. Philip Neville. Giggs has turned away from Echiog. Will he go for goal, or will he look for Van Nistelrooy? It was behind Van Nistelrooy, who I think took a touch away from Scholes. Middlesbrough lucky to survive that. Echiog this time does head away, having been turned by Ryan Giggs. If there is a rustiness in Echiog's game, you can certainly excuse that. It's a tough one to come back into. Here's Fortune. And it's a corner for Manchester United.
I'd be very disappointed there, Ryan Giggs. I mean, he does brilliantly here. Stick it through it, not waltzes round Echiog, looks up, Fletcher's at the back post, Van Nistelrooy in the middle. And I think it just takes a little deflection of Van Nistelrooy. And Paul Scholes would surely have slammed that into the net.
Well, remember, Middlesbrough conceded 2 goals from corners at Blackburn 2 days ago. And Schwarzer this time comes out and is the boss.
It was certainly a very impressive first 20 minutes by Manchester United, but if anything, the game's got a little bit scrappy since then, with really not enough action in either goal now.
Boateng. That rare commodity, a home goal, much needed by Middlesbrough. Well, Brenton has certainly heard how well Juninho speaks English. Howard's kick has gone straight to Parnaby. Mendieta. Not an easy one to hit on return.
Yeah, Stuart Parnaby does very, very well here. Good positive run forward. Looking up, thinking about having a shot, but gets closed down, goes into Mendieta, but it's a really, really difficult one to take that. Back to goal, 25 yards out. Would have been some goal if I'd went in.
Well, he's got a couple in his short time as a Middlesbrough player. Fletcher. He's made a great angle for the cross. Down by Southgate, only as far as Gary Neville. Mills is there. Juninho. Only a few seconds to go to half-time. And this time Roy Keane did get the ball, but he might also have got something that could be a problem to Manchester United. Keane is limping. And yellow card out to Boateng. But it's, as Gordon has said, degenerated into a rather scrappy affair the last 15 minutes or so.
Well, the Middlesbrough fans going mad. The referee here, you know, he books Boateng right away for the challenge on Scholes, but they feel that Roy Keane might have had a booking on Juninho, or certainly a free kick. And Roy Keane's, I mean, that's a perfectly good tackle if you ask me. That's a terrific tackle, but it looks like Roy Keane might have injured himself in the process. Boateng's got no argument with the referee here. He's very, very rash indeed with the tackle on Scholes, and Juninho's just said far too much to the referee, hence he's getting booked.
Sometimes not knowing the language is an advantage. But he's had a rant several times in this first half. For Roy Keane, there was a suspicion of a hamstring problem. He went off early at Tottenham a week ago. Of course, he's got this hip injury that he's having to live with. That's why it's now well known that he doesn't play every game. I think Matt Messias, despite the abuse he's getting from the crowd, seemed to get those decisions absolutely right.
I agree with you 100%, Martin. I thought that was a terrific tackle by Roy Keane.
Now he's entitled again to move it forward because of the descent shown by Juninho. Keane goes off. We will wait to see. I guess they'll check him out at half-time. Doesn't look too good for the skipper. Middlesbrough desperately need to get to half-time, just 1-0 down. And Nistelrooy again lurking. Technically offside, now comes back, but might have caught out a less vigilant goalkeeper. Well, the boos rather tell you about the nature of the contest as it finished in the first half. Early in the half, Danny Mills diverting the Quinton Fortune shot. Matt Messias showing his card. The two Middlesbrough players late on, and Gareth Southgate, the captain's got something to say about that. We await to learn the injury fate of the Manchester United captain, Roy Keane, off. Steve McLaren has come on to talk to the official as well. So it's a bad-tempered end to a first half that started brightly with Manchester United's football. They lead 1-0 at the break.
Very lively finish. Manchester United do lead by 1-0. We'll get up to date with the full times from, well, should be virtually everywhere else by the time we come back. And we'll get the views of Malcolm Christie and Gary
One hopes that the tempers have just cooled a little. It's unusual for a man as mild-mannered as Steve McLaren to go on to have a word with the referee, go on to the playing area, as he did just before, well, at the half-time whistle. Well, those two who were booked right at the end of the first half have still got something to say. George Boateng and Juninho.
I think Juninho had a little word with the referee saying, look, The referee apologised. It was a bit mouthy there just before half-time, and so he was and got a book for it. But they certainly need to, Middlesbrough need to get more of the ball up to Ricketts and better support from him. For me, in the first half, for 45 minutes, Juninho was playing far too deep.
Well, in the context of the chase for the championship, Arsenal have already won here comprehensively. That was early in the season. Chelsea, somewhat luckily. And Manchester United lead here. I think that many in the ground would dispute the validity of the scoreline. Scholes, but it hasn't been put to bed yet by a side that would go 4 points clear if they do win the game here, Manchester United. Fortune. Cleverly done by Southgate, despite the presence of Van Nistelrooy. Parnaby, who came on early at left back for the ill Kudru. Ricketts didn't get much support in the first half. Oh, and then a kick by Howard. It's on his first wayward one of the game. Keane's back on the tigerish beat. Cam, if you're a Sky Digital viewer, it's now following Ryan Giggs. Gary Neville. Christmas just the start of the rush for Middlesbrough. If they beat Notts County here in the third round of the FA Cup next Saturday, they will have 8 matches in January. 3 of them are against Arsenal. And 2 of those, the 2 semi-finals of the Carling Cup. Remember, Middlesbrough have never won a major trophy. Could 2004 be their year? And they're probably still wondering, when they think about that game, who of Arsenal they'll be facing in the Carling Cup, the League Cup. Juninho. Mills. Boateng. Reached by Gary Neville, not by Fletcher, because Parnaby is, I say, played with great gusto since he's come on. The outlet for Manchester United, as so often has been the case down the years, Ryan Giggs. And it's more than just a ball to relieve pressure when you give it to Giggs. He can run the length of the field. He's had a little bit of a push and shove with Danny Mills. Of course, was cautioned in the first half for raising an arm in the direction of Giggs. Bit of bad blood still between those two. Parnaby. Giggs on the ball again, not for long because Boateng uses his strength. Mendieta needs some help on the outside from Mills.
Yeah, it's Giggs making a run forward here. Mills and Giggs have been at it most of the first half, and just handbags to tell the play.
Well, Scholes is trying to play catch-up against Boateng, but he's fouled him. November the 1st, the last time Middlesbrough scored here, the number 10, Juninho. It's the man on target then in the win over Wolves. Zenden takes, it hits Scholes on the end of the wall, it comes to Greening. Oh, and Ekiog, there was no flag. It might just have muddled into a chance for Middlesbrough. Fletcher. Again, good work by Parnaby. Not allowing Van Nistelrooy to settle on the ball, and it's nicked back by Zenden. Mendieta, speculative one, and Ferdinand can only head it away. Tim Howard's knowing that a corner might have been in the offing, and he was prepared to take what was only a minimal risk. concede the throw from the flag kick, even though Danny Mills might throw it longish. I think it's trying to make himself available to receive it. Silvestra's on his case. And Howard under pressure from Mendieta.
Well, you don't see this too often. I mean, it's the Mills throwing, but Tim Howard doesn't make many mistakes, but I let that one slip out of his hands, and I tell you, that was a decent chance for Mendieta.
Just look where the ball was placed there. I think the referee gave a free kick. Yeah. Tends to go the goalkeeper's way in those circumstances. I'm sure you've had experience of that, Gordon, when you went up for corners. Barnaby. Zender, Mendieta. Silvestre in powerfully in it. Flew to Scholes. Kepiog, the second half will be a test of his stamina in his comeback game. Had a few reserve games, but in truth they're nothing like playing in the Premiership and nothing like playing Manchester United. United virtually at full strength. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still awaiting his comeback.
I read that situation beautifully, Hugo Egiog there, because it looked as if it was going to be a terrific pass from Scholes to Nisselrooy, but real good timing in the tackle from Hugo.
Barnaby. Caught by Fletcher, who was booked in the first half. Southgate. Already in the 6 minutes we've had, there's been a bit more about Middlesbrough. Zender. After having a word with the referee, maybe Steve McLaren's just raised his voice to his players during the break. Offside against Juninho. Yeah, the possession reflects a decent start to the second half. Gary Neville. Here's Southgate. And to get to Middlesbrough on the front foot again. Well, eyes off Philip Neville to Danny Mills. On for Juninho. Silvestre at his back. Well, every challenge by Keane is certainly going to be scrutinised by the spectators. And by a referee who's in a pretty good position each time to make his judgment. Free kick. Telling Zenden to move it a bit wider. Up comes Southgate. Kick there as well. Goes to Mendieta. Difficult shot to dig out in the end. The ball was rather under his feet. And Giggs making good ground for Manchester United here. Looking for Van Nistelrooy. Barnaby across. Well, I've seen him mostly playing the senior side as a right-back, Gordon.
Yeah, well, he's certainly
doing well on the
yeah, he's very versatile, and he's been doing a really good job since he came on early in the game for Frank Quadreau, and it's a bonus for Steve McLaren. Two players that have been out a long while, like Hugo, like Stuart Parnaby, and as you mentioned, all those games that have got coming up in January. It's an added bonus.
His dad is on the coaching staff at the Middlesbrough Academy, Dave Parnaby, highly thought of in these parts. Giggs. Well, in the first 20 minutes it looked as though despite Middlesbrough's excellent recent defensive record, Manchester United would have too much firepower for them. There was, as you've seen, a strong element of luck about the goal that they have scored. Middlesbrough cleared their heads and one way and another have at least stopped the match disappearing from them very early in the proceedings, and are now setting about making a recovery exercise in the second half. They do know conceding a second may well mean conceding the match. They are now the Premiership's lowest goal scorers, with 14 after Wolves filled their boots today, with 3 against Leeds United. Keane, Scholes, Giggs got behind Southgate, Van Nistelrooy, Scholes! Turned onto the bar by Schwarzer, somehow. Well, that could have been the moment to wrap up the match, but thanks to Mark Schwarzer, Middlesbrough still in it.
It's delightful football now. Is this a lucky save or is this a sensational save? Because Paul Scholes absolutely smashes that. Fantastic goalkeeper by Mark Schwarzer to palm that onto the crossbar. But it really should have been 2-0 to Manchester United.
And it's got the fans fired up as well. Here's Boateng. Southgate. Zenden able to turn. Here's Mills. Zenden wants it back. Still only Ricketts really through the middle. Juninho now up with him. Middlesbrough keep the build-up patient. Parnaby. Going to give Ricketts something to fight for in the centre. Now Fletcher. Just feel the match is in the melting pot at the moment. Mendieta. Greening waiting on the left. Gary Neville trying to hold him at bay and make sure Manchester United are organised should a cross come in. But he doesn't even let the cross come in. Good defending from the England right back. Middlesbrough winning it further and further forward. Zenden, Ricketts, Juninho. Wasn't really done under full control. Juninho on the ball, rather moving too fast for any link up there to be completed. Here's Mills. Juninho going to the right this time. Mendieta. Sylvester did nothing wrong. And here's Scholes. Giggs. They might need Schwarzer again. They don't, because Giggs misses the target. But this save well worth looking at again.
This is just, I mean, the standard of goalkeeping in the Premier League is higher than it's ever been in the history of the game, Martin, and that's the reasons why. I mean, saves like that. I mean, this is just fantastic, fantastic goalkeeping.
That is some statement, Mr. McQueen. But I know what you're saying, and there's a perfect example to back up your judgment. Van Nistelrooy. Well, a lot of Middlesbrough's excellent defending is down to teamwork, the unit doing the job. But of course you do need your goalkeeper from time to time, and they certainly needed him then. And Mark Schwarzer did not fail Middlesbrough. Mendieta. Here's Giggs. He's coming up to the hour mark.
I think this game's beginning to open up a bit as well, Martin. I don't think there's any doubt that Steve McClaren has told Juninho to take a higher starting position. That's been evident in this second half, and it has improved Middlesbrough's attacking play.
There's a threaded ball from Ricketts from Mendieta to Ricketts, who was looking for those coming into the centre, and then Matt Messias rules against Middlesbrough. Promising, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a good cross in, but Gary Neville knows exactly where Greenan is here, just making sure that Greenan can't get to the ball there.
And Nistelrooy barrelling into Southgate while the ball was in the air. Boateng, lucky deflection of Zenden for Fletcher. Half an hour to go to wrap up today's Premiership proceedings. The referee tried to just let Van Nistelrooy go on. I'm not sure what sort of advantage there was, but he wasn't prepared to pull the play back. Maybe he didn't think it was a foul. Silvestre, very tidily done. It's not away yet. They're trying to box Manchester United in. Ekyog, Zenden. Had more than half an eye on Roy Keane then. Giggs in this marauding style once more, which particularly suits Manchester United away from home. Scholes can't get it back to Giggs. Van Nistelrooy. And I don't suppose Darren Fletcher's going to give Ruud Van Nistelrooy an earful for shooting with his record, but Fletcher was coming on to the play.
I think it'd have been better laying that off to Ryan Giggs, who's in a good supporting position there, but that's why he scores so many goals, Van Nistelrooy. Pretty selfish when it comes to those situations. Mendieta
won't quite run for Juninho, but you're right, Gordon, it really is opening up. Whether that will be to Middlesbrough's liking, we shall see. Keane. He limped in at half-time, but seems to be none the worse for that. Gary Neville. There's no flag, and there's Ryan Giggs behind Ekyog. Well played, the defender. Giggs will chastise himself. Ekyog caught in that awful position for defenders. If you do bring him down, there's all sorts of recriminations these days. And here's Mills. And it's Ferdinand at the other end as the play switches forward so rapidly.
Well, you've got to give Hugo Ekyog a bit of credit there, but you think Giggs is going to pull the trigger there. He really should have shot at goal, or Mark Watson's goal when the ball was on his left foot, but he dwelled on it, tried to come back inside Hugo and lost the chance.
That's one of those obstructions where you put your arms up straight away and say, oh, sorry, it wasn't, but Matt Messias couldn't buy it from Mendieta.
It's good defending, but look, Giggs hit it there. You think he's going to pull the trigger, he doesn't. He tries to come inside Hugo, chance is gone.
Fortune. And Fletcher got to it. Zenden. Now Juninho. Ahead of him, Mendieta. Hustling for Neville, but fouling him as well. And it's a yellow card. Well, he was remonstrating with Juninho there, Philip Neville. Now Fletcher. Oh, Darren Fletcher is off. Second caution. It's a real rarity in the Premiership. Oh, can't look at Gary Neville trying to take the law into his own hands. A red card for Manchester United, whose disciplinary record is usually full of self-control. They are down to 10 men at the Riverside. Roy Keane, who was the last player sent off September of last year.
Well, we just felt that there was going to be a sending off in this game, Martin, and Zenden just turns him there. It was clumsy rather than malicious, but it's a foul nevertheless, and he get booked in the first half.
I have to say there could have been 2 sendings up if Gary Neville had got to the referee at the pace he was travelling with the red mist before his eyes. I mean, it's all very well being a strong voice in the dressing room and a supporter of your teammates, but there is a time and a place, and it's going to be hard enough with 10 to risk making it 9. No referee's going to change his mind, whatever you say.
And they do make it difficult. They can make it difficult for players, for referees with actions like that.
And here's Mendieta. And here's Ricketts. We might get more sights of goal now. 25 minutes left. Well, there are video panels these days, and we shall see what the authorities make of that little skirmish following Fletcher, who I must say accepted his fate with proper professionalism and went. We are dealing with human beings and not robots. And passions run high. A short career for Darren Fletcher, but his first 2 yellow cards mean an early exit.
Both pretty much minor incidents as well, Martin, and of course, but booking each time adds up to a red card, I'm afraid.
And in the unfamiliar position, Manchester United are playing their 10 against 11. Southgate. Parnaby. Two Nevilles combining. Parnaby tight on Van Nistelrooy. Can Middlesbrough stretch the game now and stretch Manchester United into losing their lead? Still a quarter of the game to go. Fortune. Attention here needed for George Boateng. Well, Matt Mathias, the referee. These are the 2 yellow cards, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, it's tugging away there nowadays. You get booked for that, but for me, that is a little bit on the hard side of booking. This one a little bit rash, but once again, I mean, there's not a booking. Two yellow cards, a sending off for those 2 incidents. I don't think so.
He did. And Scholes, in a rather disgusted fashion, returns the ball to Middlesbrough.
Well, you've got to expect that Ferdinand and Silvestre will be under a bit more pressure now for the remainder of this game, but they've been terrific so far, and it really is a class act, a terrific partnership we're talking about, and has been in the same class as Pallister and Bruce. Maybe not quite as good as that yet, but they're heading that way.
Yes, even though that development seems certain to be put on hold for several months. Ferdinand still awaiting the reason for the length of the suspension before he decides whether to appeal. That should happen in the next few days. Here's Greening. Zenden. Southgate and Fortune coming together. Silvestre again in the right place. It's Mills. It hits his own player, Juninho. And somehow it ricocheted to Silvestre, who found himself in what you might have called the Ryan Giggs position. And there he is again. Scholes. Van Nistelrooy. Scholes. Gary Neville uses the decoy. Brilliant work by Scholes. Took two. He's past her. Boateng. Giggs. In the way was Mendieta. Great block. Zenden. Boateng wants it to the left. Ferdinand saw it coming. Quick thinking, quick movement.
Oh, you just see another side of Mendieta's game. It really was a terrific block, Martin. It looked a certain Ryan Giggs goal, but terrific defending.
Juninho. He doesn't pull out Quinton Fortune, does he? And he's not been called for a foul there. And if it's 40-60, he still goes in for his challenge. He's down now and out of position. Here's Ricketts. Can he turn Ferdinand? He can't. Giggs. Here is Fortune. Scholes has just dropped in on the right-hand side into Fletcher's role, leaving Van Nistelrooy up front alone, but of course Giggs can get there so quickly in support. And Scholes' ball, but it'll skip on through to Schwarzer. And Greening. Mills. A duel again between Giggs and Mills. They've seen plenty of each other, of course, in the days when Mills was playing for Leeds. Was a winner against Manchester United for Leeds at Ellen Road last season. Well, Steve McLaren, who's already used a substitute in the first half, going to use his two remaining options now. Massimo Macaroni, striker. Jonathan Greening coming off. So Ricketts will have another player up with him, and it's Stuart Parnaby, the sub, being subbed. No disrespect to his performance, but it's obviously a change in policy here. And Stuart Downing, Middlesbrough born, just back from a very successful loan spell with Sunderland, who operates Gordon down the left-hand side.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for young Stuart Parnaby there, because he has made a contribution to Middlesbrough's performance. He's played well since he came on for Quadru, but they obviously want the pace and the crossing ability of Downing down that left-hand side, and obviously when the crosses go into the box, they want somebody up alongside Ricketts. That's why they brought Macaroni on as well.
Led by Echiog. Fortune. Here's Mendieta. Now Downing. The referee looked across to his assistant who's on the other side, and no real suggestion that Gary Neville had taken the whole ball behind. Mendieta. Ricketts.
Yeah, this is a terrific little ball in. Just turns, hits it early to the back post. Ricketts climbing over Fortune there, couldn't get his header on target.
Well, they got away, Michael Ricketts, from the attentions of the centre-backs to jump with the left-back, and This is best opening of the game so far. Zenden. Downing. Macarone. Put up in the air by Phil Neville. Gary Neville gets Manchester United out of a spot of bother. Echo. 15 minutes to go. Middlesbrough with the man advantage. Manchester United with the goal advantage. Oh, flying fortune here. Mills had to get that right. We might have been dealing with a 10-a-side match.
And I think he just did get it right. He just got a toe to him, no more, but tremendous pace for Clinton Fortune.
He's playing like a man who's determined to make this his best ever Manchester United season. It's taken a long time to play as regularly as he has done in this campaign, partly through injury. Free kick to Manchester United. So here's again. And this draw distracting the defenders from behind and maybe just bringing them back a bit deeper, leaving some space for others if it's not for himself. And now he's given offside, mentioned in the first half. Going into this round of matches, Manchester United, the most caught offside team in the Premiership. Boateng. Zenden. Looking for Downing. He did start the game against Blackburn on Boxing Day, and he's a good crosser, as Gordon McCoon was saying. He's got a corner here. He might want to take himself. Now he's going to leave it to Mendieta. That's a great leap by Roy Keane. Downing. Middlesbrough still well represented in the middle, and they will continue in that vein. It's another corner. Champions having to dig in at the Riverside. Zenden. Just let it get half a stride too far away, but Juninho can spot one up, and then rather than going for power, went for the chip against the 10 men of Manchester United. Could it possibly have been heading for 9 men? Gary Neville, just for a moment, lost the plot when he saw the referee reaching for another card.
Yeah, well, he knows he's getting sent off here. Knows Fletcher's been booked in the first half. Runs over to remonstrate with the referee. Then it's a little bit of a tussle here with Gareth Southgate, who wants the ball back off him.
Cleared by Silvestre, and Nistelrooy's offside again. There is a tremendous spirit in the Manchester United dressing room, and just feel they're going to need it in these last 10 minutes. Scholes didn't flinch. Mendieta. Ferdinand first to it. Echiog. Mendieta again. Can he find the key to the door? Zender. Downing. Perhaps not the best cross he's ever put in, but it was testing enough for Philip Neville to tow it behind for another Middlesbrough corner.
Yeah, I just had two in succession there, and Roy Keane defended them both very, very well with strong headers outside the box.
Oh, Ricketts was not marked as well as he has been.
You've got to think this is a chance. It's good delivery, climbs above Neville, but no direction in the header whatsoever. So only one winner here, Ricketts and Neville. And it was Ricketts, but fortunately for Manchester United, it doesn't do a lot with the header.
It would be a fourth league game in a row in which Middlesbrough failed to score at the Riverside. They don't break through in these last 10 minutes, and that hasn't happened to Middlesbrough. Of course, it wasn't at the Riverside in those days since 1906. Not a record that they would want to equal. Giggs. Keane. Well, to keep chasing it, Middlesbrough, because Manchester United, even with 10 men, showed the calibre of players to run down the clock by possession football. Juninho. Keane there again when needed. And it was Endon's long throw here. Towards Gareth Southgate. Watched by Keane, in goes Juninho. And Howard wrestling for the ball. Oh, the decision is a corner. And Ricketts making a big nuisance of himself.
Well, these normally go in the favour of the goalkeeper, but it looks to me Howard might have pulled Ricketts to the ground, so it's but a corner.
Corner count rises. Howard parries. Cleared by Philip Neville. Zender. Oh, that's a waste from Middlesbrough's point of view. Well, he took a chance, Tim Howard, didn't he?
Well, very much so. I feel a bit of defending to do Manchester United now. I mean, Roy Keane's certainly went into a defensive role, and Paul Scholes now had more or less doubled up with Gary Neville, with the threat of Stuart Downing down that left-hand side. Middlesbrough playing three at the back. Nistelrooy very much up there on his own.
Keane. His fortunate moment. There's still the difference between the two sides. Echiog. That's the type of tenacity and maybe the type of tactics in these circumstances that can make champions. It's Van Nistelrooy off, Nicky Butt on. If there is to be a nominal attacking player, surely will be Ryan Giggs. Me? Forward, but how far, I think is the message. Zender. Boateng, Zender, Middlesbrough, who conceded late at Blackburn on Boxing Day. And the win became a draw, and they turned defeat into a draw. Gladly, I think, settled for a point at the start of this game. Echiog, in this extraordinary season, When you look at the league table, it really does take some believing. You know, everything below the top three is so jammed together. And you wonder what the safety mark will be. Might be more than the traditional 40 points, of course it was last season. Scholes.
Well, I think Manchester United are just posing the question out in Middlesbrough. We're going to play 4 at the back, 5 in the middle. Come and break us down if you can.
Watching with massive interest, I'm sure. Fans of Arsenal, probably players of Arsenal, management of Arsenal. They are at Southampton on Monday. You can see it live on Sky Sports 1. And he can only work with the players he's got out there now. Steve McLaren, whose thoughtful approach is so highly regarded amongst football management. Mills. Boateng. Southgate. Downing. And also, whatever the manager does, you need the players to grasp the moment. A chance for Middlesbrough. Southgate going forward here to find Manchester United in a more vulnerable situation. But Ferdinand has missed very little. Paul Scholes filling in at left back. Mendieta, free kick to Manchester United. He's getting close to what they came here for. It's certainly a different story than it was shaping up to be in the opening 20 minutes, during which Manchester United took the lead and made Middlesbrough look anything like a team that had just lost a club record run of 7 successive clean sheets. We're quite happy with the ball in this part of the pitch, even though they've conceded a free kick, Manchester United. Zenden. Mills. Mendieta. Here's Ricketts. Macaroni. Now Zenden. Blocked by Gary Neville, who's hunting the rebound. Downing. Southgate exploring the options forward again. Oh, the goalkeeper's coming for that. Obviously didn't let his intentions be known to Mikhail Silvestre. Giggs. Just having a look to see what sort of support he has got. There is some. It's Roy Keane. But Fortune. 90 seconds plus added time at the Riverside. Phil Neville. Plenty of the ball for Middlesbrough, but not in the right areas of the pitch. Zenden. He did score against Manchester United for Chelsea last season. Just plenty of numbers in this part of the pitch, but someone needs to take a risk or two. Now they're putting the numbers in for Southgate's cross. And it's all that's necessary from Gary Neville. We'll wait to see how much added time there'll be. Macaroni. It's Ugo Ekiok. It's a decent try, really. What a story that would have been on his comeback day.
Thinking, well, what on earth is Hugo doing up here? But I tell you what, it's not a bad effort for a centre half. This was a difficult one. Good header down by Macaroni. But I honestly don't think Middlesbrough have done enough in this game to warrant anything. I mean, obviously Manchester United have scored the goal and had easily the best chance after that when Mark Schwarzer pulled off that magnificent save from Paul Scholes. Applied plenty pressure this half, but Manchester United have been really solid at the back, particularly Ferdinand and Silvestre, who have been terrific.
Well, they've just got the 2 added minutes to endure. Zenden. Ricketts feeling he was blocked off. Ekiog rather feeling he was blocked off by Fortune unfairly. Newcastle United were the last team to beat Middlesbrough. That was also 1-0. Also here. Boateng. Now Downing. Can he get across in this time? He's slipped Nicky Butt. It's dealt with by Keane. He wasn't short of company from his teammates. Mills. Ekiog definitely an auxiliary forward now. Gary Neville there before Downing. That will do in the circumstances. 30 seconds left. Last throw of the ball, last roll of the dice for Middlesbrough. Zenden. Macaroni there asking the handball question. I think a bit more hope than expectation. Boateng. The points go to Manchester United. A scrappy day, really reflected by the nature of the goal. Off Danny Mills from Quinton Fortune. At a time in the match where Manchester United were moving smoothly. It certainly got less smooth for them after that, particularly in the sending off of Darren Fletcher. But Middlesbrough didn't have the attacking power to end this goalless run at home, even with the man advantage. Some revenge, if you like, for what happened at the Riverside to Manchester United here last December. Their 30th win in 37 games in the Premiership since they lost that match. The champions, and leading the way in the defence of their title. 2003 has been another dominant year domestically for Manchester United. At the moment, they are 4 points clear of the Barclaycard Premiership.
Nathan Christie and Gary Pallister with us. We'll get their thoughts.